Welcome to the Broadcast Pioneers activity. I'm Pat Delsey with Bud Galow, and this is one of the greatest engineers in the business in the entire Philadelphia and Delaware Valley area. And in reality, without you and people like you, we wouldn't be anybody, because we could do all the on-the-air activity, but if it wasn't transmitted to the people, they wouldn't know us. So thank you very much for making us the personalities in the Philadelphia area.
Well, I think radio is a troika. If you have salesmen and talent and no engineers, you get nowhere.
Absolutely.
If you have engineers and salesmen, you have nothing to do. So it becomes
It's a collective, it is.
a collective.
But you know, do you remember we go back a few hundred years?
Yes.
Bud Galow was one of my engineers when I first started working at KYW Radio a long time ago. As a matter of fact, I started working with Bud when it was WRCV.
Yeah.
And do you recall that Sunday morning when the official change was made?
Oh, that was a madhouse, because they had decided that we couldn't have any KYW things on the microphones, and it all had to change at nighttime. So at midnight we were taking all this stuff down.
That's true.
And then at 6 a.m. we would change it, and it was a swap. Boom.
Well, at 6 o'clock that morning, this is a Sunday morning, Reggie Levong was on the all-night show, and when he finished his program, I was doing the news at that time. So I come on at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I had a mandate from the general manager to say certain things. So I went on the air at 6 o'clock, right on the button, saying, "Good morning, this is WRCV Radio, owned and operated by RCA at 1060 kilocycles," and so on and so forth. And then I paused about 10 seconds, said, "Good morning, this is KYW Radio, owned and operated by Westinghouse Broadcasting Company and at 1060 kilocycles." And that was the major change. And as you were just mentioning, at Friday afternoon, prior to that Sunday, when all the people, all the workers, especially the office workers, left for the weekend, about 35, 40 people in white overalls came in and painted the entire building. There were 5 floors, I think.
7.
7 floors. Literally anywhere where there was WRCV on a light in the TV studios or on the walls, it was painted over. When the people came back Monday morning, they left WRCV on Friday. They came back to a KYW radio, and that's how KY began once again in Philadelphia. They had been here before, were away for 10 years, and then they were mandated to come back by the FCC to Philadelphia.
Well, I think
that was quite a time.
But they went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said you have to swatch back. And KYW said that they had to be paid for the time that they were in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And when they came back, we kept Mike Douglas, and who was the guy who started the quiz programs? Can't think of his name right now.
I remember Mike Douglas came into Philadelphia. Now, tell me more about you. Bud Galow, again, I have said that one of the best engineers, and you absolutely have been. How did you get involved or interested in the engineering field of broadcasting?
When I was in the Navy, I was a radio operator, and when I came home, I got a job driving a truck, and I decided that was work, and I wasn't going to do that anymore. So I came to Philadelphia, and I
been a labor of love ever since.
And got an education, and went to a couple. You always have to go and do your apprentice work someplace else.
Pay your dues.
And one day, a guy called me and said KYW was looking for an engineer, and I was working in Easton, and I think I broke the record from Easton to 1619 Walnut Street. And
now, when was that? When did you start at KYW or RCV?
It's probably 1951.
51.
Yeah, it's a number that rings a bell, and I stayed there until I retired.
Mm-hmm. And how long you been retired? It's been just a few years?
Yeah, I retired.
Do you still tinker from an engineering standpoint?
No.
You just get away from it completely?
I retired in 1990, so I've been retired for 22 years.
What do you think of the facility here compared to the, this is at least 10 10, 20 times bigger than the entire complex over there.
This is logarithmically bigger, and the technology and everything else. I did the last 20 years, I guess, I was the production chief for KYW, and I see this little room here. This young lady in here is doing production, and she's even voicing some of the commercials. I used to have to fight with the editor to spring up a guy to come in and do some commercials.
Tell me something about how you dealt with people like myself in the studio, because you were the commander. No matter what was going on, you took care of everything from a technical standpoint. And I recall having to do the signals to you if I wanted to go to commercial. Tell us something of your activity with those people.
Well, that was all set up originally, and the system had been ironed out in 1619 Walnut Street before we got down here. So when we got to Fifth and Market, it was kind of flattened out. And it was easy to do because everybody was in step with everybody else.
So you went from Walnut Street to Fifth and Market to Fourth and Market. Were you in this building?
No, today's the first day I was in this building.
Okay. Well, listen, thank you very much for sharing your expertise with us. Bud Galow, again, one of the greatest engineers in the business forever. Thank you very much for joining us.